Hey, it must be Wednesday, because here I am, and well, there you are. Now, this is part 3 of What's the Deal with Jesus and Prophecy. So at the end of last week, we looked into, 13 different prophecies fulfilled by Jesus. This week we're continuing in much the same fashion, beginning with Zechariah 9:9. Rejoice greatly, daughter Zion. Shout, daughter Jerusalem. See your king comes to you, righteous and victorious, lowly, riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey. Then in Matthew 21:5 it says, say to daughter Zion, see your king comes to you, gentle, riding on a donkey, and on a colt, the foal of a donkey. Now that's 700 years between the two. Now look, you don't have to change the gospel to your terms. You just have to let the gospel change you. Now consider this. The Messiah would be a stone that causes people to stumble. Say, what? Yeah, no, but it says so in Isaiah 8:14. He will be a holy place for both Israel and Judah. He will be a stone that causes people to stumble and a rock that makes them fall. And for the people of Jerusalem, he will be a trap and a snare. Now let's jump forward 700 years to 1 Peter 2:6-8. For in scriptures it says, see, I lay out a stone in Zion, a chosen and precious cornerstone, and the one who will trust in him will never be put to shame. Now you who believe this stone is precious, but to those who do not believe, the stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone, and a stone that causes people to stumble, and a rock that makes them fall. They stumble because they disobey the message, which is also what they were destined to do. See, I told you. Now, are you starting to see how the Old and the New Testament are tied together? It's really prevalent in the book of Isaiah. I've been quoting that book often. It just might be worth a read by your own selves. What you think? Now, let's look at Deuteronomy 18:15. The Lord our God will raise up for you a prophet, like me, from among you, from your fellow Israelites. You must listen to him. Now that was written by Moses in the 14th century before Christ. Then in Matthew 21:10-11, there's this. When Jesus entered Jerusalem, the whole city was stirred and asked, who is this? And the crowd answered, well, this is Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth in Galilee. Now it starts getting a little worrisome here in Isaiah 56. Jesus said, I offered my back to those who beat me, my cheeks to those who would pull out my beard. I didn't hide my face from mocking and spitting. And in Matthew 26:67, we find the fulfillment. Then they spit in his face and struck him with their fists. Others slapped him and said, prophesy to us, Messiah, who hit you? Reading now from Numbers 9:12. They must not leave any of the lamb until morning, or break any of its bones. When they celebrate the Passover, they must follow all of the regulations. Then in John 19:33-34. But when they came to Jesus and found that he was already dead, they didn't break his legs. Instead, one of the soldiers pierced Jesus' side with a spear, bringing a sudden flow of blood and water. In fact, though he was beaten beyond recognition, none of his bones were ever broken. Lastly, let's look into Zechariah 10:12-13. And I told them, if you think it best, give me my pay. But if not, keep it. And so they paid me 30 pieces of silver. And the Lord said to me, throw it to the potter, handsome price at which they valued me. So I took the 30 pieces of silver and I threw them into the potter at the house of the Lord. Now again, that was hundreds of years before Christ and Judas. But in Matthew 26:14-15, we read, then one of the 12, the one called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and asked, what are you willing to give me to deliver him over to you? And they counted out for him 30 pieces of silver. Now later, when Judas throws the coins back at the Pharisees, well, they're not quite sure what to do with it. And believe this or not, but they ended up buying a potter's field. Crazy, right? So we've looked at a number of fulfilled prophecies. I'm leaving you about 300 or so that you can discover on your own. Now next week we're going to be moving on to something totally different. I haven't decided what yet. If you got an idea, please reach out and let me know. Till then, may God bless you and keep you safe.